Back in the ancient days of 2014, on December 13th, or the date 12/13/14, an official video game to Hawaii Part 2 was released. Only a select few seem to know about it, and the official download of the game no longer exists. Are there hidden mysteries? Clues in the game to understanding the lore behind Hawaii Part 2? I don't know, man. Welcome to Tally Talks, a podcast to ramble about Tally Hall. I'm your host, Emma, and today's episode is sponsored by the hit game Among Us. No, not really. I wish they would sponsor me, though. I'm joined by Supper Toad Productions, and we're going to talk about Labyrinth, the game.
Hi, everybody. I'm Supper Toad Productions. Well, spelt Supper Toad Productions, pronounced Super Toad Productions. I'm an indie game developer / interviewer. I interview other indie game devs and voice actors.
So, in your case, what's kind of your history with Tally Hall? How do you sort of know this sphere of the internet, I guess?
So, it all leads back to 2018, I believe. 2018, 2019. Before 2020. My dad shows me the Shia LaBeouf live thing. And I believe I'd watched, Happy Monster Band with my grandma once.
Let's go.
So I kind of have a little bit of history with them, in a weird roundabout way. But I'd say I kind of got into them in 2020, was it? Or 2021, whenever the cassettes were released. Somebody had recommended it for me, Marvin's Marvelous Mechanical Museum. And I had asked for the cassette for Christmas. I got 2 copies because 2 people got me the same thing. I gave one to my friend, and I kind of treat the one I have as like a good luck charm because I picked it.
Nice. And was it just kind of just from there in 2020 or 2021, whenever that was, and like finding just all of the sort of different things of the Tally Hall community?
Yep, I had listened to Good Day and what was the other one? Welcome to Tally Hall on a repeat throughout my entire summer of 2021 and 2. And I kind of just dipped my toes in and didn't even listen to the entirety of Marvin's. Then I listened to the rest, and I'm like, this is fire. Yeah, and then I listened to Hawaii Part 2 and Joe Hawley, and some of Good and Evil, but Good and Evil is not my kind of thing. So...
And that's all right.
I've not listened to much of Andrew's besides his album. Rob's stuff, one of the songs that was a old Tally Hall song that he rewrote.
I'm gonna
I love that one.
So when it comes to Labyrinth, I was pleasantly surprised to know that you knew what the video game was, and since you had mentioned video games are kind of your thing, I was excited to find another Tally Hall fan to talk about this with. How did you kind of stumble across it? Was it like on YouTube? Did someone mention it?
So my friend Talking Coat, he's a music artist who's heavily inspired by a lot of Tally Hall, but specifically Joe Hawley's stuff in Hawaii Part 2. Check out his Bandcamp. He's amazing. So he mentioned the video game, and I'm like, that sounds kind of cool. So I look for a download, can't find it anywhere. Do a little bit of research into the company that made it, and I'm like, this is weird. Because, like, somebody would have had to pay for them to make the game, I feel like. Because they weren't just I feel like they might have just been a nobody studio, but from what I've heard, they still do make games to this day. I think. So I play the game, I download it, and I start mashing my WASD keys, being like, why can't I move? And then I press the arrow keys, and I'm like, oh dear God, why do I have to move with the arrow keys? And I do like 3 hours of research trying to figure out how to get the WASD keys working. There's no way to remap your buttons in the game, at least that I know of. Maybe it's hidden somewhere, hidden in the sand. So my roundabout weird way of doing it, this is how I experienced the game, was it was installing it onto my Steam Deck, and editing it, so like going into the Steam settings so that the Windows version of the game ran on Linux, and I switched my controller things to work kind of correctly. It was buggy, and then I just played it with the arrow keys, and I was like, I can't deal with the weird reverse controls. I've seen another game do that, and I'm not a fan of that control scheme.
Yeah, that's fair. But it is so interesting, like what you were mentioning with the studio. It's like this just kind of evaporated from existence a few years ago for this video game, and like I don't know, maybe not a whole lot of people even have heard of that studio before, and it's just so fascinating. And the other thing too is like with this video game, it was kind of teased by like the Miracle Musical Twitter early 2014. They like put like 12, 13, 14, and then they just deleted the tweet, and then like 4 or 5 months later we have the music video came out, and then the game dropped. And it is interesting because if you watch the music video, it's like, hey, play the game here. Doesn't work anymore. It just evaporated.
I don't know how long the game actually is because there's no playthroughs of it on YouTube.
Actually,
is there?
Yeah, there are. Someone has attempted a few speedruns, but the controls and the mechanics of the game do get a little frustrating after a while. If the way how I've played the game so far is I'll just wander around at things and be like, man, this looks cool. And then I get stuck in a level for an hour, but I barely noticed because I was like, man, look at that sprite.
It's clearly inspired by like the old Zelda games, which I don't like the Zelda games. So it's like completely, but Labyrinth it's an amazing song. So weird Miracle Musical song because it's not sang by it's sang by somebody else.
Yeah.
I don't know who it is. And the music video is amazing. I love it. Not to be a jerk, but they show at the end of the music video, or in the middle, somebody playing on a Game Boy when the game itself clearly is not a Game Boy game. It is clearly like a SNES or a Sega Genesis game. Because it's colored, and the colors are clearly like fleshed out. Like, it's not an NES game. It's a Super Nintendo game. It's not a Game Boy game. They should have at least stayed semi-accurate. Because I don't know what they're called. I think they're called Super Boys. And they're like handheld SNESs. They should. I don't know if those existed in 2014. They might have been. I've heard of them. But they should have just done that. They're not official Nintendo products, but they're a fan-made thing. And if we want to be lore accurate, they could have done that. But
yeah, that's something that's like, yeah, I'm not that deep into the video game lore that I would not pick up on that. I'd be like, oh, that's cool. She's playing the game, which is Labyrinth, in the music video. It's just something where it just gets to bug you specifically.
Yeah. Another thing regarding Tally Hall and video games is Joe Hawley has so many samples from video games, like Punch Out, Mario, like just the most random samples, and I love it.
Yes, you can definitely tell that Joe likes video games.
Yeah.
I do find it just really fascinating too, just Labyrinth on Hawaii Part 2, kind of as you mentioned, like it really is very different from the rest of the album. Yet, in my opinion, it still definitely works, and it has those skeletons of the Mind Electric repurposed in it. But it's just so bizarre that you have this track that doesn't have any of the Tally Hall members. It's a rapping type track, and then it also, like, this whole video game itself is just so bizarre that you have all these sort of pieces, and you're like, it's so interesting this is in here. I'm not complaining, but why?
I think in a weird way, Labyrinth is 100% a, like, fits in, like, the whole way. It might seem off listening to it out of context, but when you listen to it the whole way through, it just feels like another song from the same album. My personal theory about Labyrinth, at least what it means, is it's obvious. I feel like it's kind of obvious, and I'm not going to go too into it, but I feel like the dude we see in the Labyrinth music video is supposed to represent the main character, rather than being a separate person.
On that, it is interesting because this is like one of our kind of in the Hawaii Part 2 music videos where we actually have, like, human characters going through a plot. And it's really interesting because in the music video, there's like kind of our main character guy going through all of these different battles, and then partway through there's like this pink-haired girl who he's trying to rescue, and then it ends off just really depressing at the end, where it's like they end up, not being together. We don't know entirely what happens, but it doesn't work out. But have you seen the ending for the video game?
No, actually, I have not. I don't have the dedication to beat that game.
That's
fair.
I'd
love to hear it.
Yeah, what's interesting is with the ending for the video game, is it ends almost like Dance Dance Revolution style of pressing keys in a specific order after defeating all the monsters, and that's what frees the girl. And the two of them, the main character and the pink-haired girl who I see the Scott Pilgrim behind you, all of the books there. I'm like, oh, it's Ramona. It's probably the hair dye video game themes, something like that. But the main character and the like other main girl, they end up sailing off in a boat together, and that's how the game ends after she's rescued.
Yeah, how long is the game? Do you know?
What I've seen as the speedruns on YouTube is between like 15 to 20 minutes.
I am so stupid. How have I not beaten the game yet?
But it is kind of solving the different puzzles, and then also if you take the time to walk around the different rooms. I've only probably gone through about 4 levels of the game myself. But there's, like, the space station level 7 room where when you destroy all of the furniture there's, like, I think it's in the skeleton bar where you destroy all the furniture, and then it takes you get the opportunity to go to space station level 7, and that's where there's just a bunch of skeletons making Tally Hall references. But, yeah, there's just so many random things like that where, like, oh, there's another room where it has, like, this whole, like, foresty area you have to get through, and it's just kind of, if you take the time for, like, kind of getting into all of these odd side quests, there is more to do. But getting from the game start to finish, I have seen people doing it in, 15 minutes, but knowing how the game works.
Yeah. I 100% am gonna go back and try it again.
Another thing I will note that's just super cool about the game itself is it uses all of these, like, chiptune style covers of Hawaii Part 2 songs.
Yeah, and those are in their own album, correct?
Correct. So Hawaii Party, I think that's how you would say it in that one. We got Hawaii Part 2, Hawaii Part 2, Part 2, and Hawaii Party. That one has all of the chiptune songs that they used for the Labyrinth game. And so depending on which level of the map you're in, you get to hear the different songs kind of themed to different areas. Yeah. Did you also notice when installing that Labyrinth was spelled wrong?
Is it really? Let me check. Yes, it is. Why? Do you think that's just because Tally All and somebody misspelt it?
According to the wiki, that's how the install is.
That's weird.
So
that's crazy.
Yeah. Wait, let me pull up the exact phrasing here.
I wonder if that's intentional. I wonder if it's like a cipher for something.
Maybe.
Because on the packaging for the, was it the vinyl or the CD for Hawaii Part 2? There was like, what do you call it? Like, you can't see it, like marker. That's invisible marker. Like, you can't see it without a black light.
Oh, invisible ink?
Yeah, that was on all the CD bags.
Got sidetracked. I was looking up the trivia for the game. So this is what it says on Hidden in the Sand. The installer, as well as the game's executable itself, misspell the word labyrinth as labyrinth. So I realized reading this out loud, instead of Labryinth, it's Labrynt. It's flipped around the Y and it's missing an I. And then for some unknown reason, it's also followed by a underscore 24, making the full executable title Labyrinth 24. But it is cool though. We got the icon for it is the
shape.
Rectangular. Yeah. The shape, the rainbow, it's the thing. Dude, it still is like just playing the whole thing. It's like, oh my gosh, it's the thing. Like you hear all of the soundtracks and you're like, it's the thing. Although the gameplay is very buggy and kind of painful. Apparently there's this glitch where if you walk into a pit, you just die permanently and you have to start the game all the way over again.
I hate games with permadeath.
I think... Is it at the intro screen of Labyrinth where it says it was made with Unity, or am I thinking of something else?
Probably. If it's made in Unity, it usually has a little watermark at the beginning. I'm not too familiar with Unity, but I've had to use it for one project.
Curious, I don't know if that has anything to do with the naming conventions either, if it just adds the 24 at the end. But who knows? What's interesting is there were like sort of two versions of the game. There was the first version that came out, and then there was another kind of bug fix, quotation marks, bug fix version of the game that also made it playable on a Mac. So I don't know if there's a difference between the names. I don't have that information.
The Mac version probably just, if I don't know how they distributed the game at the time, but they might have had the Mac and the Windows versions as different installs, and that might have something to do with it. So they probably just quickly... Oh, this is actually my theory. So they exported the Mac version, and it was just labyrinth.exe or whatever, labyrinthinstaller.exe or whatever. And then they were going to export the Windows build into the same folder, and it was like, ooh, you can't do this. It has the same name, so they just quickly slapped on the 24 for whatever reason. I don't know.
Who knows? I like how we're just overanalyzing
the 24.
What could potentially just be a typo.
I guarantee you it's just the build number. That's all it is. But, gotta look into it. Maybe it's teasing a third Tally Hall album. We don't know.
Yeah, it's 2024, guys.
I don't know. It might mean something. You know, everything has to mean something. Possibly. We don't know. But I feel like if it actually did mean something, they would have still had the game up for download.
Maybe they still would have had Miracle Musical vinyls available. So who knows?
Maybe this is hinting at a repress.
Yes.
A game from 2014. We're hinting at the repress.
You know, I think we've cracked the code here. But yeah, were you able to kind of look around at the different maps much at all, or was it just kind of raging at the key setup and then calling it good?
Raging at the key setup and calling it quits. But the art's good. Somebody put effort into that.
Yeah. And it is really cool because from the music video, you do have these kind of like overlapping areas of like the things that happen in the music video. You get to kind of explore those rooms yourself. What is interesting is according to the Hidden in the Sand wiki, there's the Sea of Regrets, which you see in the music video, but it actually doesn't appear in the game. But it's... Oh wait, psych, never mind. It does appear in the game, but it's not finished.
It's like, because you had mentioned that there was a lot of unfinished textures and such in the files.
Yes, so it is actually something where you can get to the Sea of Regrets, but when you go to try playing in the area, it's just really glitchy, apparently. But that is one of the things where it's like, oh, that was in the music video. You kind of have these, like, vague characters appearing in the music video, and they're also in the video game. But it is fascinating to me that the music video ends with just sort of this ending where it's like, the two lovers are parted, parting of two lovers, Hawaii Part 2. They're separated, but then in the video game, you kind of have this chance to get the good ending, I guess.
Yeah.
And they sail off. I guess in your opinion, do you feel like there's the potential that the game itself kind of hints to a potential plot for Hawaii Part 2?
Yeah, 100% confirms a lot of the fan theories. I'm pretty sure we can take most, the general consensus about what it's about is confirmed. But I definitely think, at least from what I've seen of Joe speaking, I feel like he's the kind of guy that would want you to interpret his work in whatever way makes you enjoy it the most. So I don't really think there is, besides the basic plot, I don't really think that there's much behind. I feel like Joe and the other members definitely did have an intended plot, and there's definitely a real plot there. But I think, at least by the way I gather, by the way they talk about it, they, as long as you're enjoying it, you can think of it however you want. That's the vibe I get, at least. But maybe there is some deep-seated lore hidden in the game that I have no clue about and you don't know about, or...
But we still get to talk about it,
Yeah.
It's just something where it's so obscure, so maybe this will bring awareness to someone who will get to understand more than we do.
Who actually knows, yeah.
But it's just one of those things where I've always found it so fascinating. It's, so underground in a way. But I feel like you put things really well, of just kind of discussions of a plot or something. And so it is definitely cool to hear the fan theories, but it is definitely one of those things where I feel like it's purposeful that they lead it up to interpretation, but it is cool that this game kind of takes the sort of different themes and makes it into a video game type plot.
Yeah. I'd love to see a fully fleshed out Tally Hall video game.
Dude.
One day.
That would be so cool. Have you heard there's just random audio out there of the Tally Hall members congratulating you for finishing a game? It was someone found it or stems or discovered it or something. I will have to look this up again later. But there's just audio of the Tally Hall members clapping, yo, you did it, you beat the game. And it's just, we don't know what it's for.
If I was to guess, do you know what time period it's from?
Probably 2009. I think it's Marvin's era. But I could be wrong.
I'm 100% guessing is that it's for a Tally Hall internet show skit that got cut. The only reason, do you know where it was found?
I would have to, I'm going to look that up right now. I'm going to...
Because if it was found in, the Labyrinth game files, it probably just didn't have time to get implemented.
Right, yeah, it wasn't,
it
wasn't related to Labyrinth. Let me find...
Because in 2000, I really doubt that they had any plans for making a Tally Hall game in 2009.
Yeah.
They weren't big enough for a Tally Hall game in 2009. Maybe they were. I wasn't alive. Well, I was alive in 2009, but I wasn't listening to Tally Hall in 2009.
Okay, I found it. It's from 2007.
Because the reason why I say I don't think they were planning a game, it's because indie games were so difficult to make. We don't have the resources that we have today to make games.
Right.
That they didn't exist in 2007.
It's true. Unless it was a Flash type game. I don't know.
Yeah, actually, now that you bring it up, Flash games, Newgrounds stuff would be easy to do.
Here.
Or not easy, I'm not discrediting.
Here, just...
Newgrounds devs. I just listened to that. I really wonder if it is, from, for the Tally Hall internet show, because it sounds it has the same audio mixing style, which I don't know if you've noticed, but it's a Tally Hall internet show, kind of the audio mixing is extremely unique for some reason. I wonder if it's just whoever does is it Bora who does the mixing all the time, or?
I feel like for the internet show, that might have been Joe.
Because it seems like whoever does it has a constant like audio mixing style that they do.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, maybe in some alternate universe in 2008 with the re-release of Marvin's, we also got a Tally Hall like Flash video game.
Yeah, probably would have ended up becoming lost media.
Yeah. So actually, here's the theory. The 24 and Labyrinth 24 executable file is actually hinting that the Tally Hall video game is coming out this year.
I mean, I'm not gonna say much, but I may or may not have made full 3D models of Ross's drum and other things for a project I'm working on. It's not like a full-on Tally Hall game. I don't have permission from anybody, but I do want to add the members as a little Easter egg.
Oh yeah, there are some like video games out there that have Tally Hall references in them, if I'm remembering correctly.
Oh yeah, because Ross is in Red Dead Redemption 2 as well. Or L.A. Noire, right? He's in some Rockstar published game.
Okay, yeah, I think I remember that now that you mention it. Okay, I think the game was called Borderlands.
There's a Tally Hall reference in Borderlands. That's insane.
Oh, it's a Spring and a Storm reference.
That's crazy. I was unaware of that. And for a big AAA game, that's a weird reference to make. Were they really that big?
I don't know. Maybe there was just someone who was that big of a Tally Hall fan and just threw that in there.
Because that's weird. Like, that specific line, too.
Mr. Moon, tell us about this guy. But yeah, you get all the Tally Hall video game connections. It goes deep. And, like, Labyrinth itself. It's just so interesting because it's like the Labyrinth video game. There's just apparently a multitude of unused rooms and sprites, and it just is like, man, there's so much details out there that you just don't know.
Tally Hall Battle Royale.
Oh yeah, that's the game that's coming out this year. Yeah, so I guess overall with the design of Labyrinth, it is really interesting as all of the different rooms and levels. But yeah, you've mentioned not being a fan of the controls. I guess if you were to kind of redesign or kind of reimagine this game, what would be some ideas of how you'd go about that, being like a game developer yourself?
Besides the graphics, we're starting from scratch. We're starting from the beginning. Still top-down art style and everything, but roguelike, like Binding of Isaac, but Labyrinth. But the way it works is it's a roguelike. I don't know if you're familiar with those, but it's a game where if you die, the game's over. There's no save feature in the game. It's just take out as much enemies as you can until you die, essentially. So that kind of thing. Vampire Survivors is another roguelike. So we do a roguelike kind of thing. Keep the same stages and maybe have an end. Like, you have to walk around, defeat enemies. Just like no puzzles. Just get rid of the puzzles and the exploration. Tell me exactly what I need to do. I need to be held through everything. Like, literally everything. Which, as a game designer, makes me kind of sad to say. That I need to be walked through every game I play. I need somebody sitting there holding my hand telling me exactly what to do. Because I cannot figure out puzzles on my own. Unless it's like Mario. I can do Mario just fine. I can do most games just fine. But if it's stuff like Zelda or an open world game, I am stupid. I have no clue what I'm doing. If there's an objective menu or something, I don't know how to use it. I'm bad at open world games or games that don't tell you what to do. Games that don't have a very clear point for where to go. So, yeah.
So eliminating the puzzle side of things and focusing more of like moving forward and whatever the story is and defeating monsters.
Oh, and fix the controls. And if the controls can't be fixed, we give up. Give up, yeah. Because I feel like I could do the puzzles if the controls weren't like that.
That's fair. That is fair. Yeah, so you're probably busy with a lot of your own type of projects to, dedicate designing, redesigning Labyrinth, and, doesn't necessarily have to be. It's still really cool that it does exist, but we could definitely see how it could be improved. But kind of what has that process been like for you personally of going through designing games?
So what really inspired me, I've always wanted to make games. I feel like every person who's played games has had a desire to make a game of their own. Whether they go into it, try and fail, get into it, try and succeed, or just never get into it. I feel like everybody who plays games has had a thought, maybe I could make a game. I've had that thought. It's like a persisting nightmare. Not nightmare, dream. Persisting thought about making games since I would say, probably about 4 years old, when I played Banjo-Kazooie for the first time. But I kind of just was like, always kind of wanted to make games. And then, I think it was last year, a YouTuber, Unique Geese, made a remake of Garten of Banban in a week with no game development experience. And I'm like, I actually do have some game development experience. Because I made a few Scratch games. That's as far as it went, really, as of, over the past few years. Making Scratch games and weird things in Scratch that don't really count as... I don't even know what you call half of the stuff I made in Scratch. But, so I saw that Unique Geese remade Garten of Banban in a week with no programming. And I'm like, I want to make games in a week with no programming. So I have my dad's not bad laptop, but not good laptop per se. Screen's falling apart. Yeah, it's not a very good laptop at all. So I kind of just, decide, I'm gonna do something with this. I install Unreal Engine on the laptop. It's the game engine that Fortnite is made in, Garten of Banban's made in, Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. A ton of games are made in it. Not very good for making 2D games, so I couldn't really do the Labyrinth thing. I could, just a little difficult. So I use Unreal Engine to make my games, and I kind of, after barely being able to run it on my dad's laptop, I just kind of gave up on making games until around January of this year when I bought myself a computer. Good one. And I've been working on 2 different projects simultaneously for about since January. One of them is super far along and will probably have a demo by the end of this year. One of them is being worked on just kind of hard to make because I actually have to pay my employees for that one because I do not have art skills. So, yeah. Definitely. And I have made other non-game stuff, like I made a Friday Night Funkin' mod in 2022 that my little sister designed the character for, and I had people doing music for it. It was for a game jam, mod jam kind of thing. Turtle Pals Tapes set it up 2022. So that's something that you can play that I made that's actually out and ready.
Nice.
It's not amazing, but ton of fun. At least making it. Stressful, made it in a week. Really cool though, and very difficult. So, yeah, that's kind of how I got into game development, what I'm doing now. My YouTube channel will be linked in the description if you guys are watching on YouTube. I don't know how that'll work on Spotify. Just search up Supper Toad Productions on YouTube. I might not pop up, and it might pop up an autocorrect to Super Toad Productions. You're just going to want to keep fighting with YouTube and do Supper Toad Productions. And you'll get to me. You'll find me.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me today and just being able to talk about just video games and Tally Hall, I guess, and contemplating Labyrinth. The game, that is. Thank you so much again for joining me for Tally Talks. I appreciated just getting your insight on the different things. Fun to have someone on the game dev side of stuff. So I appreciate it. Thanks for listening to Tally Talks. This episode came out just a little bit later than I was planning, as I ended up having some Treetown sound-related news that I reported on first, which can be found on Emmatronics. But thank you for your patience. Please share the show with people you think would like it. If you'd like to shout out in an upcoming episode or in an Emmatronics video, check out the links in the description. If you give to help a family in Gaza, I will give you a shout out. Just let me know how you'd like to be credited in the Google form. If you have any comments to share or would like to ask about being a guest on the podcast, please email me at podcast@awesomejedi.com. Thank you and have a good day. By Tally Hall.